Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you all for being here with us today. It's been, as already stated by others, it's been a very, very interesting discussion. Mr. Gutman-McCabe, if I could start with a couple questions to you. I found it interesting in your testimony that you were saying that, of course, America is really at the forefront of innovation in this across the globe. And also with that innovation comes, job creation. Any idea what's being created out there in jobs in the industry today?
Yeah, we are responsible directly for several million jobs and indirectly for tens of millions of jobs. And that continues to evolve as you see our service go into areas, we call them verticals. So Mr. Shimkus, I think, talked about the credit card swipe. M-Health, I'm the beneficiary of mobile M-Health products myself, mobile education, and so it's almost impossible to quantify a volume of jobs because you see, services like Mr. Westergren's and others moving on to the mobile platform and things evolving on a daily basis. Right now, we have 6% of the world's wireless subscribers, but we have 70% of the world's LTE subscribers. So we are at the cutting edge. Mr. Shapiro talked about sort of we're the internet country. I think that's true. I think that's why you see a different approach to FM radio here than you do in other countries, because all of the companies that we've mentioned earlier began here in the United States. They're all driving employees, they're driving revenues, they're driving taxes and CapEx, and it's happening here. And all we say with regard to this FM chipset discussion is let there be choice, let the consumer choose, let innovation continue and flourish, and if consumers want more and more FM-enabled products, I assure you one of the 30 to 40 handset manufacturers will find ways of getting those products to the consumers.
Well, I also see in your next paragraph in your testimony you go on to talk about spectrum and the access to it. Are you going to have enough spectrum out there?
Well, we certainly, I think you may recall, CTIA, along with our friends at CEA, put a paper together which began the discussion about the incentive broadcast auction because we looked at the needs that were coming up and then the spectrum that was in the pipeline, and it was an equation that caused us concern. So we started talking about a looming spectrum crisis. We are, as Mr. Shapiro suggested, extremely happy with what Congress did and what the President signed into law about bringing more spectrum to market. That is key. It has to happen in the next 3 to 5 years. There needs to be a move to get the spectrum, not just from the broadcasters, but from some of the federal government uses into the pipeline and out to the carriers so that we can meet up with this, whether it's audio demand or video demand or the verticals with M-Health and education. So we will continue to sort of bang that drum to say, Congress did its part. Now we need the agencies to push this over the goal line to finalize that part of it, to actually get the spectrum to market.
Well, you also say that you also need a light regulatory touch. Could you define light regulatory touch?
Sure. And I think the best way to describe it is if we look back 3 years ago, or we'll go back 5 years ago. 5 years ago, the hottest selling phone was the Motorola Razr. It was a flip phone. There weren't app stores. There were less than 100 applications. And in that 5-year period, we have almost 60% of the phones are now smartphones. We have tablets. We have an environment that is changing so dramatically that to suggest, and this is the ranking member's opening statement talked about trying to not lock in technology because once you do that with a mandate, you're overtaken by events. In this world, it moves so quickly that by the time I have a phone that I call new, my team members have 3 or 4 other phones that do things that I can't even, contemplate. And so for us, it's first, do no harm. The physician's mantra. Look at a regulation, not just independent, but as a whole, look at it holistically and say, boy, adding this on top of the other regulations that are out there, how is it going to impact these Tier 2 or Tier 3 carriers, not just the large carriers, but all the others out there that are trying to upgrade their networks. And so for us, a light regulatory touch is, unless you see a significant failure in the market, you really shouldn't be contemplating regulation in such a fast-moving market segment as ours. We've taken to call it an ecosystem because companies like Pandora are now part of it, and our trade association is changing dramatically as we sit here. We have more companies now from the West Coast, from Silicon Valley. We have the Googles and the Microsofts, but we also have the smaller companies because this ecosystem is evolving. And so a light regulatory touch is first, do no harm. Have a sense of what you're regulating and make sure you don't have a negative impact on investment, on jobs, on innovation.
Thank you very much. And Madam Chair, I see my time has expired and I yield back.